Yoko Ono's name is forever linked with the Beatles, often in a whisper, followed by the accusation of being the woman who broke up the band. This narrative has been perpetuated for decades, casting a long shadow over her legacy. This pervasive narrative, however, is a gross oversimplification of a complex situation, unfairly pinning the blame on Ono while ignoring the multifaceted realities that led to the band's dissolution. The truth is that the breakup of the Beatles was a result of numerous factors, including personal conflicts, creative differences, and business disagreements. These issues had been simmering long before Ono entered the picture. The truth, as is often the case, is far more nuanced and requires a deeper understanding of the dynamics within the band and the cultural climate of the time. The Beatles were evolving as individuals, and their collective vision was diverging. This simplistic and damaging narrative has persisted for decades, fueled by misogyny and racism that saw Ono, a strong independent woman and a Japanese artist, as a disruptive force in the seemingly harmonious world of the Fab Four. Her presence was an easy target for those looking to explain the band's breakup. It disregarded her own significant artistic contributions and reduced her to a one-dimensional caricature. The woman who came between the beloved band and their adoring fans. Ono was an avant-garde artist with a unique vision, and her influence on Lennon was profound. The truth is that the Beatles' breakup was not a sudden event sparked by a single factor, but rather the culmination of several internal and external pressures that had been brewing for some time. The band's grueling schedule and the pressures of fame took their toll. Creative differences, business disputes, and the exhaustion of maintaining their phenomenal global success had already created fissures within the band long before Ono came into the picture. Each member was seeking their own path, and the unity that once defined them was fracturing. To lay the blame for the band's end solely at her feet is not only inaccurate, but also speaks volumes about the deep-seated biases against women, particularly those who dared to challenge societal norms and expectations. Ono's story is a reminder of the complexities of history and the importance of looking beyond simplistic explanations. The widespread acceptance of the narrative that Yoko Ono broke up the Beatles reveals the ugly underbelly of sexism and racism that permeated society, particularly in the music industry during that era. This narrative was not just a simple story, but a reflection of deeper societal prejudices. Ono, a woman and an Asian woman at that, was an easy target for blame. Her presence and influence were often viewed through a lens tainted by both gender and racial biases. The Beatles fan base, largely composed of young girls at the time, found it difficult to accept that their idols could find love and companionship outside of the band's carefully constructed image. This image was meticulously maintained to keep the fans' adoration intact. Ono, with her avant-garde artistic sensibilities and unconventional appearance, disrupted this image and was quickly deemed a threat. Her unique approach to art and life was often misunderstood and misrepresented. Adding fuel to the fire was the underlying current of racism that colored the public's perception of Ono. This racism was not always overt, but subtly influenced opinions and narratives. As a Japanese woman in a predominantly white Western world, she was often treated as an outsider, her cultural background and artistic expressions misunderstood and ridiculed. This outsider status made her an easy scapegoat for the band's breakup. The racist undertones in the criticism leveled against her were undeniable, with some even accusing her of using Japanese black magic to ensnare Lennon. These accusations were not just baseless, but also deeply rooted in xenophobic stereotypes. While Yoko Ono often bears the brunt of the blame for the Beatles' breakup, it is crucial to remember that it was John Lennon who made the decision to leave the band. His departure was a culmination of various personal and professional factors. Ono might have been a factor in his decision, but she was not the sole cause. The dynamics within the band had been shifting for years. Lennon was, by his own admission, restless and seeking new avenues for his creativity. He felt constrained by the band's framework. Lennon's relationship with Ono undoubtedly influenced him. She opened his eyes to new artistic and philosophical perspectives. Still, it was a relationship built on mutual respect, love, and a shared passion for art and activism. They were partners in every sense. Ono provided Lennon with emotional support and creative inspiration, encouraging him to explore new musical directions and use his platform to advocate for peace. She was his muse and his confidant. Ironically, Ono's presence might have even prolonged the Beatles' existence. Her influence helped Lennon stay grounded during chaotic times. Her calming influence on Lennon during the turbulent recording sessions for Let It Be and Abbey Road is well documented. She was a stabilizing force. These albums, considered by many to be some of the band's finest work, might not have been possible without Ono's presence. Her impact on Lennon, and by extension the Beatles, was profound and lasting. One of the most significant oversights in the Yoko Ono narrative is the dismissal of her own successful career as an artist long before she met John Lennon. Ono was a respected figure in the New York avant-garde scene, known for her experimental work in performance art, music, and filmmaking. Her art, often challenging and unconventional, explored themes of feminism, peace, and social justice. She was a pioneer of conceptual art, using her work to provoke thought and challenge societal norms. Her influence on the art world, though often overshadowed by her association with Lennon, is undeniable. To reduce Ono to merely John Lennon's wife is not only disrespectful, but also ignores her significant contributions to the world of art. She was a trailblazer in her own right, pushing boundaries and challenging conventions long before she met the man who would become her husband and artistic collaborator. John Lennon and Yoko Ono's love story, born out of a shared passion for art and a deep intellectual connection, was as unconventional and captivating as their individual careers. Their meeting in 1966 at Ono's art exhibition in London was a pivotal moment in both their lives. Contrary to the popular narrative that Ono aggressively pursued Lennon, their initial interactions were marked by mutual curiosity and a playful exchange about Ono's art. Lennon was immediately drawn to Ono's intelligence, her artistic vision, and her unwavering belief in her work. Their relationship, from the very beginning, faced intense public scrutiny and criticism. The media, fueled by the sexist and racist biases of the time, painted Ono as a homewrecker and a negative influence on Lennon. Despite the constant negativity and threats, Lennon and Ono remained steadfast in their love for each other, finding solace and strength in their shared vision for a better world. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please don't forget to like and subscribe, and as always, stay curious and shine brightly.